Hello! So my name is Jenny T and you're currently watching another video that nobody asked for. Or maybe you did, depending on how you found this video. But however you found me, I'm glad you're here. While I was recording, I realized that I had over 60 freaking minutes of footage to edit, and it was kind of shocking because I've never had over an hour long of footage to edit, which is long for me, but I know there are probably videographers out there that have to edit out days of footage, which mad respect to them because that's insane. But anyways, as I was editing this video, I was thinking to myself, what should I talk about in this brand new video? And since this video is probably going to be one of the first videos that I upload within this new year, I figured that most people are probably still going to be thinking about their New Year's resolutions. For me personally, I don't necessarily believe in New Year's resolutions, though I do believe it's important to set goals for the new year. And you might be thinking that they might be the same thing, but for me personally, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions because one of the aspects of setting a goal is to make sure that there's a realistic timeline in achieving that goal. And whether your goal is to eat more vegetables, get more sleep, exercise more, or even get high marks in school, you don't necessarily need a whole year to set your mind to it. And as cliche and cheesy and cringe that this might sound, I feel like having the right mindset may have more of an impact than we might realize in our everyday lives. And I don't know if I'm recording this to convince myself that I need to stay motivated, because personally I haven't been doing a very good job at staying motivated. But if we learned anything from 2020 is that even though you can't control the problems that come at you, whether they're environmental or situational, you can at least control your reactions, thoughts, and behaviors towards that problem. I'm listening back to this and realizing that I kind of sound like I'm reading from a book and trying to preach, but I'm not trying to do anything preachy, although it kind of sounds like it is. But the only reason why I thought about this was because I was listening to a podcast called Sweet Boys featuring Garrett Watts and Andrew Sawicki, and if you haven't heard of them, I highly suggest it because they're just so refreshing, especially with their imaginations and the topics that they talk about. And I also honestly love the dynamic between each other because they're just so wholesome. And what honestly got me thinking about the new year in general and accomplishing goals and experience in life was in their 5th episode, where they started talking about how you don't really need permission or approval from others to do what you want to do. And they also talked about how you can also change your own outcomes if you just acted upon that one action with a proactive mindset instead of just avoiding it. And honestly, that resonated with me the entire time. So they do a better job at explaining this concept in a more funny yet very insightful way than I can do in a 12-minute video. But I'm basically just kind of continuing this conversation because I find it so fascinating that we could change the narrative at any point of our lives, at any given day, at any second, through our behaviors, thoughts, and mindset. And in gaining ownership of your own narrative, what you do today could ultimately guide you to where you want to be tomorrow, which is mind-blowing. And I don't know, I might sound really stupid and might look back at this video like, what am I on? But if, say for example, I wanted to open my own bakery, that's a future goal for the future, but what I do today might affect my future. So if I want to open a bakery in the future, what I can do right now is bake a cake, or what I can do right now is research a recipe. Whether I baked a cake or research a new recipe, I now go into tomorrow with new knowledge of that recipe or knowledge of how to bake a cake. Eventually that knowledge is going to accumulate, and I find out what recipes work, what ingredients work, what don't, and how to get one step closer to my own bakery, potentially. And I mean, there's probably going to be a few bumps in the road, obviously. Not all cakes are going to turn out good. Some might be burnt, some might be crusty, some might be flat. But at least you're going to go in with new knowledge every day and a new goal every day. And what's fun about setting goals each day, whether big or small, is that each day could be very different. So one day you could do research on all the different kinds of recipes that are available out there. You can try one of the recipes another day. You can work on packaging. You can do research on how to build a website. You can do so many things, but eventually the days will add up and you could have your own bakery in the future. And obviously it's going to be a little bit easier said than done, because I know there's like a little bit with like licensing and all this other stuff, but how you control your reaction, thoughts, and behaviors towards it is ultimately what defines the situation, which basically kind of comes full circle. And just like I said earlier in this video, what's fun about goals is that you can set them at any given point in time, and it's never too late to start because everyone's journey and timeline is going to be really different. And another thing that resonated with me within listening to that podcast, since I like listening to podcasts in my free time, is that you can find inspiration in almost anything and everyone. And this was kind of something that blew my mind because it's kind of something that not many people think about, because we always idolize celebrities and YouTubers and influencers and all these people, but we never really look at how or when they started. I don't know, it might sound a little bit cringy by saying you should find inspiration in everything you do or anything you see or everyone you meet, but for me, I feel like you can find inspiration in people's stories. Because unless you were somehow like really extremely lucky or defied the odds somehow, most people end up starting in similar places. And obviously with that being said, there's not going to be two stories that are going to be exactly alike because like I said before, there's going to be environmental and situational factors that come into play. But basically what I'm trying to get at is that whoever you look up to, whether it's your favorite celebrity, YouTuber, TikToker, Instagrammer, or whatever influencer, they started out with a following of 0, which might kind of be a concept in itself considering we always normalize they're like, I don't know, 5 million subscribers, 10 billion views, 49 million followers. And unless they became viral or famous overnight because of like the algorithm or just pure luck, which does happen, but it's very rare, most of us kind of start at the same place. And I'm not sure if I'm explaining the whole we all start at the same place concept very well. What I mean by this is that most people don't become a doctor, lawyer, teacher, or even open up that bakery overnight. Your favorite author might have been rejected multiple times before they became a bestseller, or even your favorite rapper might have songs that we don't hear of today because those first few songs were just test runs. Or maybe simply because those songs are just not as good as they are today because of years of improvement. But basically what I'm trying to say is that we all start from the same place by saying, can I do this? How can I do this? And what can I do to achieve this said goal? And obviously the goal is to not be famous or get clout or be the richest man alive, but it is important for you to find your own personal definition of success and what it means to you so that way you can work towards that achievement and ultimately align your goals and morals together to find self-gratification and satisfaction in yourself. Honestly, what's so motivating and why it resonated with me so much is that the fact that anyone's personal definition of success can happen to any one of us if we just set a proactive mindset towards that. But with that being said, it's also important to be very careful to not compare yourself with others. Because not only is everyone's journey and timeline of achievements going to be very different and vary among everyone, but it's also very counterproductive. And it's counterproductive in a way where you're never going to find happiness or satisfaction in where you're at because you're constantly comparing someone else's timeline or achievements with yours. I also feel like comparing yourself is kind of a really toxic mindset, and I also feel like it's dangerous because you end up losing sight of your goal and why you started to work towards that goal in the first place. Especially in an era of social media where everyone's kind of portraying their highlight reel and putting on their best pictures, I almost feel like it's so easy nowadays to fall into a toxic relationship of comparing yourself with others. I almost feel like this could be a whole separate video in itself, so if you're interested in hearing that, then you can feel free to leave a comment down below. But anyways, with that being said, and going back on the topic of setting realistic goals and being motivated towards achieving your own personal definition of success, it becomes important to recognize that we're kind of living in an age where we kind of romanticize the whole hustle culture where we're continuously grinding and overworking ourselves, which isn't necessarily the case because we should always live in a balanced life, but we also should live in the moment. By saying that out loud, it might sound a little bit cringy, like, oh my gosh, live, laugh, love, like live in the moment. But what I honestly mean by that is that you should be aware of what your morals are and make sure that your morals aren't being sacrificed when you're working towards your goal. There's honestly a whole list of different morals, and everyone's going to have a different list of morals that are going to reach more on top priority than others. But some of these can include maintaining trustworthiness, sharing with others, compromising, maintaining honesty, building family, love, respect, responsibility, dependability, loyalty, reliability, open-mindedness, and gratitude. I feel like from the list that I mentioned, and these are just a few of them, these aren't all of them that exist in the world, but for me, I feel like gratitude is probably one of my higher ones and something that I put on my very high priority list of morals, just because I try to show appreciation for others or by simply appreciating the little things in life. Interesting as well is that not only can you combine morals with your goals, but they could also be one of the reasons why you're working towards your goals in the first place. So for example, with gratitude being my highest moral that I value, not only can I implement it into my goal where I appreciate the journey along the way towards my goal, but gratitude can also be implemented as my target goal as well. And what I mean by this is that you can show gratitude by working towards buying your mom a house, and that way you can show gratitude. Or you can even show gratitude by giving back to your community by donating to a specific charity. And although the examples that I mentioned previously were more monetary goods, they don't necessarily have to be taken in that form to show gratitude, because you can also show gratitude in the form of your time. Though I'm kind of rambling more about the topic of morals, or with my example of gratitude, it kind of ties into what I mean by living in the moment. Yes, it may be important to continuously consider and work towards your goals every single day, but if you lose sight of what you value most along the way, it might be easy to end up getting lost in the process. As much as I'm saying appreciate the journey, and in saying that I'm probably being super cliche and cheesy, I know it's probably going to be easier said than done, especially when there will be days where you won't feel like waking up at 6 a.m. to go to class and get that degree, or there will be days where you won't feel as motivated because those are the days where you feel the laziest, which, by the way, is totally okay because it's important to know when to take mental and physical rest days. But with that being said, and if you do find yourself dreading a certain activity or not feeling as motivated as you usually do, I think it becomes especially important to reflect on why you wanted to work towards a planned specific goal in the first place, and make sure it still aligns to where you want to be in the future. Having a why and a purpose and a reason towards your goal is super important. And I also want to let you know that it's okay to feel discouraged or have failed multiple attempts along the way, because those kind of in turn are blessings in disguise because they kind of give you more resilience and growth along the way. Remember when I said that you can find inspiration from everyone's stories? Well, that experience can also add to your great story, and just like what my 7th grade English teacher once told me, if there isn't a problem, then there isn't a story. I know I'm probably talking in circles right now, and I'm probably being super cheesy throughout this entire video, but I do appreciate you listening to this point of the video, and I do have to end this video abruptly, so I'll talk to you guys soon.